Today on Pro Church Daily, we're talking about the 50% rule for church announcements.
Well, hey there, and welcome to Pro Church Daily, the show where in 10 minutes or less, you're going to get a daily dose of tips and tactics to help your church share the message of Jesus while we try and navigate the biggest communication shift we've seen in 500 years. I'm your host, Alex Thrills, joined as always by the boss man, it's Brady Shearer, and today we're talking about the 50% rule for church announcements.
If you are a church and you know that you have too many announcements each week, but you can't figure out which ones to cut, this is for you.
Yes.
If you are a church and you know that your congregation isn't listening or paying attention as much as you'd like during your announcements, this is for you.
Yes.
And if you feel the tension between different ministries, all demanding stage announcements, but you can't really figure out who should get one and who should not get one, this is for you.
Let me tell you, as an associate pastor of a local church, a worship pastor, kind of a worship curator, this is for you.
Exactly.
This is literally for everyone. Yeah.
Because here's the problem. I mean, you just alluded to it. There's no such thing as an announcements pastor.
No.
We've got speaking pastors. We've got lead pastors. We've got worship pastors. And yet there's that other portion of our Sunday service that gets completely neglected until the last minute. And then the pastor's wife goes up there and she's just reading off the bulletin.
Goes off the rails 15 minutes later.
28 announcements later.
Yeah.
And then you're going to different people. Oh, let's be the leader of the men's ministry, leader of the women's ministry.
Whose birthday is it? Whose birthday is it? Oh, it was your birthday last week?
No, this week.
Oh, okay. Well, let's sing.
And then it's a whole big thing. There is no such thing as an announcements pastor. But announcements are so important because they are the only portion of a Sunday service, aside from maybe a call to action at the end of a message,
right.
They're the only portion of a Sunday service where you are promoting next steps within your church. Maybe you have an announcement for baptism. Maybe you have an announcement for small groups. You're asking people to sign up, to register, to set up recurring giving, whatever it may be. And as we talked about in episode number 144 and 145 of Pro Church Daily, it's next steps, people taking action, not just being passive spectators. It's next steps. That's the ultimate metric for tracking overall church health and church growth. This is why announcements are so important.
So we're not saying that announcements aren't important. We're saying that they're actually so important that they actually need more care than
more care. Unfortunately, they get overlooked.
Yeah.
But they're so important.
Yeah.
And I've presented, as a weirdo, more than 30,000 church announcements over the last 5 years. And so this 50% rule I have seen do wonders when it is implemented. What is it? The 50% rule is the following. If an announcement does not apply to 50% or more of the people in the audience on a Sunday morning, it does not warrant a stage announcement. There are other ways to get announcements out. There are other ways to communicate with the people that attend your church. Social, email, bulletin, text message, one-on-one communication, church lobby, magazine, website. Not everything warrants a stage announcement. It is not the be-all and end-all necessarily of communications. And the 50% rule can do so many great things. Let's talk about 3 reasons that this is going to do good in your church. Reason number 1. Look, every one of these reasons is huge, but this one is the one that really makes me sad.
Right.
Because if each week you share multiple announcements in service that don't apply to the majority of people listening, you're actually conditioning them to tune out your announcements because they are used to knowing that announcements don't apply to them.
Every week they sit there, and when this part of the service comes up, whether it's after worship, before worship, after offering, whenever, like you said, if it's not applying to the majority of your congregation, at least 50%, then the majority of people know for the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, none of this is going to be applicable to me. So I'm pulling up my phone, I'm disengaging somehow, and then to ask them to get re-engaged when the pastor comes up, to talk about these existential matters that we talk about in church, that can be hard work.
And what happens is, you ask yourself, why are people not listening to our announcements?
Right.
Why are they not taking next steps? Well, because most of the stuff you're sharing does not apply to them.
Yeah.
And when things don't apply to us, but we're forced to sit and pretend to listen, our brains kick in and say, hey, think about Netflix.
Right.
Think about what's for lunch. Think about anything other than this because this hurts my brain.
Yeah.
I'm used to being stimulated, and now I'm being forced to sit for something that does not matter to me.
Yeah.
That is a problem. You're conditioning your church to ignore you when you do not apply the 50% rule. Reason number 2. And this one is great for you, church leader, church pastor. When you begin using and implementing the 50% rule, you take the burden off of yourself to manage the tension and potential conflicts between every ministry wanting and demanding a stage announcement. You now do not have to decide, be the judge and jury on whether it's the men's ministry this week or the women's ministry this week that gets an announcement. And this is the problem when saying, like, look, we only do 3 announcements each week, or we only do 5 announcements each week. Because while a limit is good and better than nothing, what that doesn't take in account is which announcements are actually more important to the life and health of the church.
Right.
And this is why the 50% rule is so much better, and maybe you combine it with the 3 to 5 limit of announcements, because now you don't have to be the one that is in the middle of the tension and in the middle of the conflict, and you're not creating this, little bit of war between you and the women's ministry because they perceive it that you never put their announcement on stage, but you're always favoring the kids ministry because that's where your wife volunteers, and now it's a whole big thing, and you're like, I just wanted less announcements, but now everyone hates me, and blame the 50% rule.
Right.
So much easier. Yeah. Finally, reason number 3, the 50% rule is awesome. It will immediately reduce the overall number of announcements.
Of course.
Men's ministry ain't getting a stage announcement anymore.
No.
Women's ministry, yeah, maybe.
They probably still
might be able to still get one.
Yeah.
Like the youth ministry, no, probably not. It's fine. Use Instagram.
Yeah.
Use other ways of contacting the youth.
There's more attention being paid there anyway. So.
Exactly. And this is now so much better because the fewer number of announcements that you have on a Sunday, the more likely people are to pay attention. At my church, we do 1, 2, at max. The most I'll ever do is 3 announcements.
Yeah.
And we use this 50% rule. We talk about next steps. We talk about baptism. We talk about the night of worship because these are the types of things that apply to the entirety of our congregation, to everybody, more than 50%. I don't know if I've ever done like youth event from stage.
Right.
The only time that I've ever done it is when I've done like a summer camp, and that's because I'm talking to the parents of the kids, and more than 50% have kids, and we're talking about young kids, teenagers. That applies to more than 50%. But I'm not doing like a teenager announcement because that's not more than 50%. And what's amazing about the 50% rule and getting locked down on your announcements where people aren't ignoring them and people know that, I should listen because this could be for me. And you're removing the conflict within the ministries and you're reducing the overall number, is that this leads to that all-important metric that we talked about earlier. It leads and translates to more next steps.
Yeah.
And the more next steps that are taking place in your church and in your ministry, the more healthy your church is.
Of course.
The more growth you are going to see within your church.
And a lot of the next steps that that you want to ask people to take in your announcements times, they can't often take them in that moment anyways. And so if you want people to take a next step to sign up a digital Connect card, you might as well make that announcement digitally through email or your website or social so that they can take that next step when they encounter that announcement, as opposed to hearing it on Sunday, if they hear it at all, and then having to remember, later on Sunday, I have to go on the website and sign up for that. Well, why don't you just use that digital tool in the first place? Get rid of that announcement on Sunday morning. Use that digital tool so they can take that action right there. We went through this process in our church a handful of years ago. We were a smaller church and with lots of traditions and things that we do, and announcements was one of them. You had the announcement time, and I was able to joke earlier in the episode about singing Happy Birthday because that was something that we did.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we would sing Happy Birthday for whoever's birthday it was, and if it was an anniversary, we'd sing the Flintstones anniversary song. People love it. People love it.
Which one is that one?
Happy
anniversary.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy anniversary. Yeah, it's a good
but
one.
we were growing. Our church was growing to a point where that wasn't sustainable anymore. We weren't able to track everybody's birthdays and anniversaries because we weren't this smaller local church anymore. But we were growing in numbers and attendance. We're like, okay, we can't sustain this anymore. And we were noticing during announcement time that it's full of all these announcements, and people weren't really paying attention. So we revisited it. We actually applied this 50% rule, and then realized, if we get rid of the birthday song, the anniversary song, and apply the 50% rule to all these other announcements, we actually don't need an announcement time anymore. And so we don't have announcements at our church anymore unless there is something that warrants an announcement right after worship, and we send the kids out. When the pastor gets up to speak, he or she will drop a line and say, hey, before we get into it, just letting you know, we're having this, church picnic is next week. That applies to everyone. And so they'll just drop 1 or 2 announcements before the sermon, but that's not happening. That doesn't even happen once a month anymore. And so all of our announcements have moved digitally, and we've noticed our service has been streamlined in the process, and our attention is just much more consistent during that time.
Yeah, both announcements and during the message, I imagine.
Yeah.
And there is an important distinction to make here, that we're talking about, church operations, events, ministries. When I say announcements, I don't mean acknowledging new visitors.
Right.
New visitors don't take up more than 50% of the people in attendance. Every single week, I'm going through the same new visitor welcome, new visitor acknowledgement, connect card, all of those things. We're talking about the everyday church announcements.
Yeah.
Someone would ask that question, so I think it's important to clarify.
Perfect.
If you want to learn more about church announcements, we have a play within the Nucleus Playbook. It's called the 2-part church announcement formula. I mentioned earlier, I've done 30,000 announcements for churches. I've made a formula, the 2-part church announcement formula. It's the best way to get more attention and therein see more next steps. It's free as part of the Nucleus Playbook. Just go to playbook.church and you can check that out. And that'll do it for this episode of Pro Church Daily. We'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching today's episode of Pro Church Daily. We'd love it if you subscribe to this channel. Join Pro Church Nation. It'd mean the world to us.
Hey, and just between me and you, I know you like this video. So why don't you tell us? Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. Come on. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you like this video.
And if you like that move, I'm a pastor. Stay out of my DMs.